you the kind of earbud user who's sick of waiting around for Ellie Audio to deliver what it actually promised? And are you tired of not being able to see or hear whether Snapdragon Sound is making a difference? Are you the kind of earbud user who's just looking for something on a budget that gives you good ANC and good sound out of the box? If so, then Earfun may have just released the perfect set of TWS for you. The Air 2 NC have an MSRP of £59.99, but for UK buyers I've left a link and a voucher code that will get the price down to £41.99, and for that price I think these are a bit of a steal. Coming up, you're going to get a full lowdown on which you should choose and which might be the best for you between their recently released Air Pro 4 and the Air 2 NC. Before we dive into reviewing the product, I wanted to remind you of my disclaimer. If you haven't been following the channel for long, you may not be aware that this is just a hobby for me, and in order that I can keep enjoying it, I made the decision a long time ago that I won't take any payment for reviews. So I can guarantee you this review is not sponsored, and there won't be any sponsored reviews in the future. Back to the Air 2 NC. Coming up, we've got the usual binaural samples of both the sound and the ANC, so you can actually hear it for yourself. There's fit and comfort tests in the usual multitude of different applications, call samples in several different real life busy and noisy locations, and a walkthrough of what you get with the Earfun app. Let's kick off with the sound. First, that binaural sample of both the Air 2 NC and the Air 4 Pro. Remember, to really get the benefit of this, it's best to listen with your headphones on. So as you heard and saw there, both of these sets follow the Harman target quite faithfully, but their subtle differences do have quite the bearing on how they sound. Certainly more so than the hardware anyway, because the Air 2 NC have an 11mm composite driver as opposed to the 10mm in the Air 4 Pro. Both products support LDAC up to full resolution, although the Air 2 NC aren't a Qualcomm based chip, so they're not supporting Snapdragon Sound or aptX lossless. The differences that you're hearing are predominantly going to be down to the tuning. The Air 2 NC has more of a bright neutral presentation compared with the Air Pro 4, which is warmer and has a thicker note weight. The extra mid bass on the Air Pro 4 that you would have definitely heard towards the end of the sample is more prominent than the graph suggests. It gives added emphasis to the trebles and the presence region, and it gives the Air 2 NC a cleaner and leaner sound overall. On both models, vocals are very much front and center, but with the Air 2 NC it is particularly obvious because of the slightly narrower soundstage. But it's not quite as easy on the Air 2 NC, and it's when you try and do this that the Air Pro 4 really shows its class with improved technical performance and better imaging. Comparing them to other popular TWS, you can see that it's a similar tuning remit to the Buds Air 6 Pro from Realme, but the Realme has a more balanced tuning and better technical performance courtesy of those dual drivers. The Air 2 NC trade the blows back though, thanks to their much stronger active noise cancellation. The Soundcore Liberty 4 NC, despite being released over 18 months ago now, is still a popular choice in this price category, but for me at least, the Air 2 NC's cleaner, leaner sound is much more preferable to the bloated mess you get with the Soundcore out of the box. So if vocals being at the forefront is your preferred kind of tuning, you'll almost certainly prefer the out-of-the-box sound with the Air 2 NC. But even if you don't, there's plenty of customization available for you in the Earfun app. I've covered a lot of this before in my review of the Air Pro 4, but you get a bunch of different presets that you can choose from, as well as a custom EQ. You can also take one of Earfun's presets and then modify it in the custom EQ, which is a really underrated feature. With my sound profile, again, I covered this in more detail on the Air 4 Pro review, but I didn't feel like it generated a profile that suited my needs, so I recommend you probably skip it. One additional feature that you get over and above the Air 4 Pro is theatre mode, and as it says there, it's designed to try and widen the perceived soundstage and give you a more immersive surround sound style experience. I would only use it for movies though, because if you're using it with music, it just adds loads of reverb and it also boosts the bass massively. That could also be useful if you're a gamer. You could use it then in conjunction with gaming mode and get a pretty solid experience. My league table of sound under $100 incorporates a number of different subjective metrics, and here you can see that the Air 2 NC creep into the top 20. The differences in actual sound quality, so things like driver quality, group delay and distortion, are actually quite small between the majority of these sets. It underlines the importance of finding a tuning that suits you out of the box, and those binaural samples are the best way of being able to match that up to your preference, rather than trusting a reviewer's say so when perhaps I don't think a lot of them even understand what sound quality is. Next up, we're testing how they are on calls. This is how the mics sound when you've got no sound going on around you in a very quiet room. And now you're going to hear how they perform in a variety of different noisy locations in busy outdoor and busy indoor scenes. So first up, we tested the Earfun Air 2 NC and how they perform on your calls in a busy indoor scene. I'm in the usual coffee shop, so I test all of my TWS here in the UK on the weekends, and it's the usual mixture of sounds. You've got sounds of baristas making coffee, the staff here preparing food, you've got indistinct chatter from tables nearby, and you've also got music and stereo. So if you're using these in a busy indoor scene like this one, this is how you can expect them to perform. And this time we're testing the Earfun Air 2 NC in a semi-indoor, semi-outdoor scene where the remit is to try and differentiate your voice from those conversational sounds that are going on around me right now. I'm in a market here in London, and it's mostly groups of people walking through, getting their chocolate-covered strawberries, and else they're getting here. So yeah, if you're in this kind of scene where you're looking for your voice to stand out from other voices going on around you, then this is how you can expect it to perform. And this time around, it's the same test for the Earfun Air Pro 4, so you can hear how they sound in comparison on your calls in this market scene compared with the Air 2 NC. And this time we're testing the Earfun Air 2 NC in a busy outdoor scene. I'm right next to a main commuter station here in London, the London Bridge. So you've got the sound of trains coming through, you've got the sound of traffic coming through as well. There's building work, a nearby skyscraper that's going up, no doubt. And also a little bit of wind coming through, not a huge amount. So we might have to do the test again when there's a little bit more wind, but still a light breeze comes through. You can tell by my hair sticking up. So reasonably difficult test for any set of earbuds, really. There goes the wind a little bit more. It's what we're trying to replicate here is what it's going to sound like on the day. So this is how you can expect it to sound if you're making or taking a call on the way to work. And this is how the Earfun Air 4 Pro sounds by comparison in exactly the same scene. If you want to hear how they perform for a longer test, do check out my review. Link is in the description. According to the pictures in the FCC application, the Air Pro 4 and the Air 2 NC are using exactly the same MEMS microphones, but the differences you heard in your voice clarity is pretty much 100% down to the chipsets which each of these individual products is using. The Air Pro 4 is using a Qualcomm chip and it's using their noise reduction algorithm, and whilst it's probably more effective at reducing those ambient sounds, it does make your voice sound a little bit muffled. With the Air 2 NC, your voice sounded a little bit cleaner, but it perhaps wasn't as effective at reducing those ambient sounds, which was particularly audible on the market scene. Both of these buds struggle with the wind, and whilst you heard that the Air 4 Pro did sound worse, there was a lot more wind in that particular scene. So for calls, there isn't a clear winner between either of these two models. It's why I always include these tests so you can try and match up which of these typical applications best fits your use case. Next, you're going to hear how the active noise cancellation performs courtesy of a binaural sample in a busy coffee shop with a comparison to the Air Pro 4. So impressive performance, I think, from the Air 2 NC. Whilst the overall noise reduction isn't quite as powerful as the Air 4 Pro, it is definitely more effective at your lower rumbling sounds. It just falls a little way short in your higher frequency sounds such as conversations. If you're mainly using these on the daily commute, you might actually find the Air 2 NC are a better bet. Unlike the Air Pro 4, you don't get a load of AI modes when it comes to the ANC. You do get a wind noise reduction mode, and whilst it isn't quite as effective as the one on the Air Pro 4, it does do a solid job. Ear Adaptive ANC curiously didn't always select the strongest ANC available depending on the scenario, but it did at times improve the wind noise better than wind noise reduction mode. You also only get one ambient sound mode, whereas you've now got two on the Air Pro 4. It actually puts the Air 2 NC towards the top of the table when it comes to ANC strength for buds under $100, with amongst the best bang for buck ratio. The transparency mode is quite natural with very little white noise, but it isn't especially effective for discerning voices which are close by when you're having a conversation. One of the critical dependencies to get the most out of the sound, the ANC and the transparency, is the fit. And this is one area where, for me at least, I found it improved over the Air 4 Pro. The Air 2 NC is more silvery with some subtle branding on the side and a slimmer profile. It's lighter too, and whilst the build quality doesn't feel as good as the Air 4 Pro, it does fit better and comfier. There's still a little bit of occlusion when you're moving, although it certainly isn't as prominent as on the Air 4 Pro. And this, combined with their IPX5 water and sweat resistance rating, makes them an ideal companion for exercise. Their medium depth fit and contoured shape means that they're also very useful for cardio. I put all of these sets through the 100 jumping jacks test, and the Air 2 NC performed admirably, hitting the 100 mark without any issues whatsoever. The touch controls are located at the top of the stem and they are pretty responsive. Similar to the Air 4 Pro, you've got lots of customization available for the controls in the Earfun app, where you can assign different gestures to either the left or the right bud independently. You can adjust single tap, double tap, triple tap and long press, and with long press you've got a few additional options in there available, such as shutdown. So if you want to take these out without the case, you have got the ability to switch them off and just pop them in your pocket, which I know some people find useful. There's some more nice functionality in the Earfun app, including toggling dual device connection, and you've got a device list in there. You can also toggle LDAC on and off, although bear in mind that if you use LDAC you lose multipoint. You can also adjust the voice prompt, set automatic shutdown and find my earbuds, all useful features. The case is another area where you can clearly see the Earfun cut corners a little bit in order to reduce the price. You wouldn't think that I'd had the Air Pro 4 case much longer, because on the case of the Air 2 NC you can already see some scuffs and marks, especially in the light. It can also feel a little bit flimsy when you get in the buds in and out the case, and the hinge doesn't have a great deal of friction. It does support wireless charging though, which is especially welcome at this price point, and you get a quick charge of 2 hours worth of playtime from just 10 minutes juice. And in terms of the battery life, my real life experience wasn't that far short of Earfun's advertised figures. With AAC and ANC switched off, I got around 8.5 to 8 hours 45, only just short of their advertised 9 hours. Switching on ANC reduced this to around 5.5 hours, and with LDAC and ANC it was just under 5, so overall pretty respectable. And not too far short of the battery kings at their price point, the Realme Buds Air 6 Pro and the OnePlus Buds 3. Finally, as you know, I'm not a big gamer, but I did test out the latency of both the Air 2 NC and the Air Pro 4. With gaming mode switched off, the Air Pro 4 is quite considerably superior, but the gap is closed when you toggle gaming mode on. The Air 2 NC have probably got the edge though, for the reasons I talked about earlier, in terms of being able to use theatre mode and get your directional cues a little bit better. Before we move into the summary, a reminder to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Of all the TWS reviewers out there, I'm the one with the most extensive library of squig measurements, and it's not behind a paywall. You get it absolutely free of charge, allowing you a much greater visibility of how the buds are going to sound before you choose to purchase them. There's also no subscriptions and no Patreon. Everything is free of charge. But if you do feel that this review has helped you in some way, or any of the other reviews, then you can always donate. My Ko-fi link is in the description. Ko-fi is a platform where you can donate as little as £2 to say thank you and to help me out with buying expensive earbuds like the Apple AirPods 4 ANC, so that I can compare them in the future to the likes of the Soundpeats Air 5 and the QCY Mellow Buds Pro. Over the course of the last month, Dan, Joel, Leon H1A8, Katten and Spathizak have all donated to the channel, so for that I would like to say a big thank you. So on to the summary, and I think Earfun have delivered exactly what they set out to do here, with a great budget alternative to their fully featured Air Pro 4. Their Harman leaning tuning will definitely appeal to many, and their strong active noise cancellation isn't far short of its big brother. There's lots of customization too through the excellent Earfun app, and there's the added bonus of great battery life, wireless charging and quick charge. For many, the exclusion of LE audio and Snapdragon Sound won't make too much difference, but there are a few other compromises like wear detection, latency and particularly build quality. Hopefully this review has given you enough detail to make a decision which of these, if either, is right for you. Coming up soon, I've got a review and comparison of KZ's Carol and Moondrop's Mocha, and there's also a look at all the best options when it comes to active noise cancellation in semi-in-ear, comparing them to Apple's new AirPod 4 ANC. Thanks for watching. It's ReganCipher signing off.